Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. The holidays are here. That means it's time to start stuffing stockings. No one has better options, big, small, or gift cards. Boy, that's an easy way to do it. Gift cards. Nobody has more options than Games and Things. Stop by their showroom where Kingston Pike meets Lovell Road this very week. You can also visit their website at ourgameroom.com. Life should be fun. These guys make it so. Games and Things. Drop by and see Scott and Lisa Mellon this week. All right, let's take a look at the final SEC standings. And with these final standings up there, this is the last time I'm going to ask this question. A final time. What coach did the most with the least? Because you had some great coaching jobs. Sam Pittman, 8-4, hard to argue with. Mike Leach didn't upset Lane Kiffin at the end, but he had a really good year for a team that was picked for 7th. Josh Heupel, obviously. Shane Beamer got that team to 6-6, playing basically a graduate assistant at quarterback earlier in the year. You had some good coaching jobs. It's funny, Mark Stoops and Kentucky were picked to finish 2nd or 3rd in the East, but still give him credit. Mm-hmm. Who got the most with the least? And Lane Kiffin, 10-2 at Ole Miss. Now, he was close to genius, not quite. It was close. Most with the least, Will Overstreet.
Guys, looking at the way South Carolina ended this year, knowing they really didn't have a quarterback, and you're kind of sitting there saying, well, did Tennessee have a quarterback and the coaching staff changed it? Same for Sam Pittman. I go with either Pittman or guy at USC, South Carolina, as doing the most with least.
Beamer over Heupel. Okay.
I'm just saying, with the way they ended the year and what they got out of it, it looks that way.
Okay. Jimmy.
Lane Kiffin. I've heard you refer to him as a genius many times, and I think you were serious.
Sure.
But they won 10 games in the regular season for the first time in program history. And while I think he had an outstanding quarterback, I think he developed a lot of those other players on offense. And their defense was atrocious last year. They were much improved this year. So I think to win 10 at Ole Miss, I'm going to go Lane Kiffin.
Josh.
Yeah, you'll throw me off the set if I do a 3-way tie with Heupel, Pittman, and Leach.
No, so Cavalier, Chuck's not in this segment.
So you still may throw me off. I'm going to agree with Jimmy and say Kiffin. 10-2 at Ole Miss. I know they were a preseason top 25 team, had some hype, but they exceeded that.
Marlon.
I'm gonna go with Heupel, and Hype we trust, man. Just again looking at what we lost to the portal, understanding coaching changes. You've got to go in and fix a program that's broken. Basically, is what was being said. And so for those guys to play hard for him, and you possibly looking at 2 other games we could have won. You're looking at a 9-win season. I got to say Heupel just based off the job he had to come in and do.
I'm going Heupel. I said last week that Leach will pass him if he upsets Ole Miss. He didn't. I'm going Heupel simply because you lost so many bodies, as Marlon referred to. It's just depth, and also none of these other guys lost that many starters to other schools. It's just you didn't just lose bodies. You lost tons of bodies, but you lost starters to other schools, other SEC schools, other Power 5 schools. Doing what he did was impressive. Let's put up Tennessee's final record here. This is what they did their season, and you see everybody's final record that they played. The teams that beat them: Pitt 10-2, Ole Miss 10-2, Alabama 11-1, Georgia 12-0. You lost to Florida 6-6, but when you lost to Florida, it was long before they quit. But that's the one to me. It's not Pitt. Pitt's the one that in hindsight, you could have won it. Florida's a disappointment because they're 6-6. You would have liked that one. At the same time, you beat a 2-10 team, a 5-7 team, 6-6, 6-6, 3-8, 4-8, 9-3. The Kentucky game stands out. Any other observations off that? Anything? It can be silence. That's fine. We'll move on. Okay. I just wanted to point out the Kentucky and Florida thing, and that 4 of your 5 losses came to a team that won 10 or more games.
If you had a losing record, Tennessee's going to beat you pretty good.
Yeah, which we talked last week. Heupel's system may have raised the floor on what you are as a program.
Yeah, look at the Missouri-South Carolina games. You're better than them, but you were much better than them when you played them.
And you weren't as precise as normal against Vanderbilt. They didn't have a chance.
Yeah. So. I would tell you this, coming to the season, that wasn't a game that I thought, just on the schedule-wise, based on where we were, we would go into that game and excited about the possibility of an upset or a big game in Neyland Stadium like the Ole Miss game. I wasn't expecting that this season.
And, boy, almost got Ole Miss, too. Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's talk about the coaching searches around the league very quickly. Most of the chatter at Florida has them taking Billy Napier from Louisiana. A lot of speculation that the negotiations have already begun there and they're down the road. If it is Napier, now Matt Campbell's also getting mentioned there, but they don't like defense. They didn't like Will Muschamp. I think they got to go get somebody who's supposedly offensive. So the Napier thing could be great. Who knows? His track record's not as impressive as Dan Mullen's.
Nope.
He's Jim McElwain. So you got rid of Mullen. Rather than give Mullen another chance to correct one bad year, you're starting all over and you're going to get a guy who, if you made me choose who's the better coach, Mullen or Napier, I'm going Mullen.
And Napier has not proven himself that he can recruit at the level of the SEC. So that's a bit of a roll of the dice.
Do we think it's Napier? I mean, is anybody hearing anything else?
The guy I talked to in Florida, Frank Frangie, said he believes it's Napier.
All right, you've got ties in Louisiana, so I'll ask you this. Their coaching board is supposedly all over the place. Matt Campbell, Iowa State, Billy Napier, Lincoln Riley, who said last night after the game, somebody started to ask the question, he said, let me stop you, I'm not going to be at LSU. Okay. Jimbo Fisher, who was hired by LSU's AD at a previous, Texas A&M. He wanted Jimbo, supposedly they want Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher says he's not going. It's interesting, they want Jimbo Fisher. Ed Orgeron just beat Jimbo Fisher last night.
With a bad team.
And over the last, since 2018, he's 2 games better than Jimbo Fisher in record. But LSU fans want rid of Orgeron to go get Jimbo Fisher. And they say the fallback would be Mark Stoops at Kentucky. Okay, what are you hearing from your folks at Louisiana?
Lincoln Riley, they're going after him. Hey, by the way, Nick Saban is not leaving the Dolphins to go to Alabama. Okay, so we've heard coaches with all that chatter before. I don't buy anything the coach says about a job. So I think it's Lincoln Riley, the one they're focused on. The other one I was told that they might get, you mentioned some names, Dave Aranda at Baylor. He was a defensive coordinator at LSU. He was there when they won the national championship, and he's done a nice job with Baylor.
No talk of Lane Kiffin at either of these stops.
They're not going to go with Lane Kiffin, I was told, for a variety of reasons.
It'll be interesting to see if Florida comes back around. I have a hard time believing they're going straight to Billy Napier and they're not going to talk to Lane Kiffin, because Florida is the type of program. I mean, if you're going to roll the dice, I could see them rolling the dice on Lane Kiffin. Question: if Lincoln Riley goes to LSU, start the fear meter here in Knoxville that Josh Heupel will return to Oklahoma, his alma mater, where he was fired as offensive coordinator, by the way.
Don't start it, just crank it up higher.
Look, I'm the one that said Lane Kiffin's not going to USC. USC wouldn't want Lane Kiffin, and they didn't until 6 other guys said no. If a bunch of guys say no at Oklahoma, is there a reason for Tennessee? If Lincoln Riley goes to LSU, is it at least on the radar that Heupel could wind up in Oklahoma?
I think it is. And because of what you were just talking about with Kiffin, and if there were enough people that say no, here's what I don't know. Is Heupel still upset that Oklahoma fired him as an offensive coordinator? I don't know that. But also, when you look at that job, it's pretty attractive. He was a coach there. He was a national championship caliber quarterback, didn't they?
Heisman runner-up there.
Heisman runner-up.
Et cetera.
The only person I know he's mad at is Bob Stoops, because that's the guy that fired him. So is it possible? Yes. It's possible.
Oh, and we could be sitting in this seat again.
Please, God, no. please, no. All right, so let's throw it out there.
Maybe
If you're a
get
Tennessee,
an NIL deal, let's say.
if you're a Tennessee fan, hope and pray that Lincoln Riley meant what he said and he's not going to LSU, because you don't want to hear all this could Heupel leave stuff. All right, when we come back, team's MVP. It was Hendon Hooker, right? Who was the next most valuable player on this team? And what about assistant coaches? Who was the best assistant coach on this team? We got that to cover, and then bowl stuff. Going back on the Sports Source.